I was born in Korea, adopted as a baby, where I would then come to America, Wisconsin to be exact, to join my family. Mom, dad, and an older sister who was also adopted from Korea a few years before. My parents are white, Scandinavian and Polish to be exact, and all my relatives are white, and the little town we were in was white, and because I was a child, that didn't mean anything to me. I was still innocent and colorblind. There was no race or differences. People were just people. I remember one time playing with one of my cousins out in the woods, and I don't know why or how it came up, but he said, "You know you don't look like us, right?" And he didn't mean it in a mean way. He wasn't much older than me. But no, I didn't know that. And I couldn't comprehend at that time what he meant. And so we just went about our adventuring and playing. When I was 6 or 7, my family moved across country to beautiful Arizona. And sometime after we had settled down, got a place in Tempe, the adoption talk happened. It was never a secret that my sister and I were adopted, because to everyone else, it was very obvious. 2 white parents, 2 Asian daughters, the world knew. We were leaving the house one day when the conversation happened. I must have been asking questions. My mom sat me down on the bench outside. She explained my mother had me in Korea, but couldn't take care of me, and because she loved me, she wanted me to have the best life possible. So she gave me to them. I was sad after that. I kind of went into this child depression, which is different because I couldn't process and come to conclusions and have deep thoughts about it. I just remember thinking, why couldn't she keep me? And I drew a lot of pictures of like coming over on the airplane. And then in like a week it passed when I got distracted by a new toy or friends or whatever. Fast forward a little bit. I feel very lucky to have grown up here. I feel like there's a lot of different diversities and cultures. Growing up, I had 3 best friends. One was half Hispanic and white, one was Nigerian, and one was what she called herself a mutt. She was just a mix of a bunch of different races. When I was a teenager, and I mean 15, maybe 16, I was talking with my closest friend at that time, who was the half Hispanic, half white girl, and we were talking about growing old together and how we're gonna go hang out at Applebee's and wear really cute hats and order the appetizer sampler. Best friend talk. And when we were describing how we were gonna look as old ladies, she stopped me and was like, "You know you're not gonna grow up to look white, right?" Because I was describing my grandma and how she looks, because that's all I knew. And my friend, who was both amused and shocked by this conversation, was like, "You're gonna grow up to look like that old Chinese lady in the Chinese restaurant." My mind was like, poof, 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 exploding. Up until that point, halfway through my existence, I had never fully comprehended that I was Asian. That I was like all those Asian people I'd look at from a distance and be like, they're clearly Asian. I never identified with them. And then suddenly I was extremely aware. And perfect timing, because I was at that age when insecurities and awkwardness would become the biggest things in my life. After that, whenever I'd be hanging out with my very diverse group of friends and I'd see a group of Asians, I'd feel both this pressure to be with them, but extreme disconnect. Now, I would say teenage years is when you typically want to start finding your identity. I did a lot of that through clothes and music. For a few months, I'd be all out Avril Lavigne. And then I'd be completely gothic, basically a walking advertisement for Hot Topic. I kept it very superficial and outward stuff because I didn't know what to do with this growing, misplaced feeling inside of me. It wouldn't be until my 20s that it would really start to shake me and unravel me. And again, pretty appropriate timing, because usually in your 20s is when you really want to find the purpose of life and your life and who you are. Well, I didn't know who I was, and I found myself stuck in this in-between of the people I related to the most, I look nothing like. To them, I'm a foreigner. And the people I look the most alike are foreign to me. I felt like an outsider to both groups, to the 2 genres I had to pick from. And this would be something I would continue to struggle with until this year. You know, I kind of figured out what I was doing with work. I kind of figured out some of my relationships. I knew my faith. But this one area had grown so big and become such a big part of me. I never felt satisfied or whole or understood because I didn't understand it myself. But this year was the year I decided to search for my biological mother. I started in the spring, and it has been a wild, emotional ride I could have never been prepared for. I have more questions than answers, new holes and gaps that need to be filled. But one thing I did discover is that group and place I'd been searching for. And it can be summed up in 3 words: Asian American adoptee. Fun fact, when international adoption became really popular, I would say a few decades ago, Korea was called the Cadillac of adoption. To date, over 200,000 children have been adopted from South Korea. And I would say that's a pretty big community of people. And I'm finding them. And I'm finding understanding and acceptance and myself.